So we have approached week 2, and in this week we're going to talk about our biases. I want to first thank you all for your submissions in week 1, where we really discussed our otherness and the experiences of otherness. I appreciated your post. I appreciated your insight in the analysis, and also just the vulnerability you all showed in your journal entries. In this course, we're going to have a few more case studies. And I know it's not a real client in that it's not someone physically sitting across from you. But as you do work through these case studies, I do ask that you really put yourself in the client's shoes from an empathic standpoint. So particularly where Jeanette is concerned, what would it be like to be in her skin, to be a child and to be ridiculed and mocked and felt to be monstrous because of something you could not control? Further, to be told that if you pray, something about this might change, and so you're praying about it and it's not changing. So to go through life with these experiences, to be a 22-year-old woman, never have had a relationship, looking at all of your friends in relationships, how might that feel for you? I could put words on that experience, but I strongly encourage you to do so also. And so many of you in your analyses were very insightful about what life must be like for Jeanette or what life might be like for her. And I just encourage you with each of our case studies to do so, to really put yourself in this person's shoes. What is it like to live life in their skin? That is how we really can communicate empathy to our clients, especially in those beginning sessions when we're trying to build rapport. For Jeanette, I think it will be important for her to feel heard and understood and shown unconditional positive regard. So this week we're going to talk about biases, and I know many of you remember the cultural bias activity that we did in residency. A lot of you have mentioned it already as it stuck with you for whatever reason. To kickstart our announcements this week, I used a quote from one of my favorite books, Radical Acceptance. And the reason why I included this quote is because a lot of times when we have a thought, we sort of label it as bad, or we tamp it down, or we try not to pay any attention to it because we're ashamed of it, or we get upset about it, or we have a strong emotional attachment to it, and it goes nowhere but in that sort of emotional stuck place. And this quote really just encourages you to welcome whatever thoughts or feelings might come up for you. And the reason why I say that is because this week you have a couple of articles on identity. You have an article about the movie Boys Don't Cry. You have also in your reading chapter 7, which is included in it the seminal article that many of us counselor educators have read and across disciplines. I have friends who are social workers who also had to read Peggy McIntosh's White Privilege, Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack. I remember reading this as a master's student. I remember how strongly of a reaction I had to this particular article. And I wrote about it in my confidential journal to my instructor. But I encourage you to, as you're doing the reading this week, whatever feelings might come up, whatever thoughts you might have, just welcome them. There's no need to feel shame or whatever you might feel associated with the thoughts that you have. I can tell you the experience that I had as a master's student having read White Privilege for the first time is vastly different from the experiences that I have now, as I read it every time I teach this course. And so I encourage you to just approach the reading from that place. As I said last week, really sit with some of this material because, again, it's not academically challenging, some of these concepts. However, it can really rub up against some views or beliefs that you might have had about how the world works. So those are our assignments for the week. You'll have a small group discussion and another writing activity. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. I look forward to reading your work this week, and here's to week 2.